Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome back to another TAT pod. Another one is going to be some tricky conversations, I'm pretty sure, with myself and Mohamud Ram, two returning members of the podcast. So, yeah, thank you, boys, for jumping on once again. And how are you, Mahmood? Coming back once again, second or third pod now. So, how's things been, my friend? You're on mute, bro.
Yeah, what a stupid mistake. But anyway, I was just gonna say I've been good. Everything's been good to me personally, but yeah, it's not been good on the football side, unfortunately. Unfortunately.
No, definitely not me. And we're going to get into it. There's a lot to discuss today. And Ram, you join us again. We seem to get you on whenever we lose, mate. So I thought we'd keep the trend. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, man. Like that, I just want to echo what Mo said. Everything's good outside of football, man. Liverpool keep on doing this to us, and I'm ready to chop it up. We're gonna have some serious conversations right now, some serious ones.
We have to, mate. And people say I'm too positive. Oh no, you breed this toxicity that's positive, and I've never understood that myself. But apparently that's what I do. But even me, mate, as optimistic as they come with this club, it's the club that I love. It's literally my life, and even I'm losing the will to live. So we're gonna get into it. But let's start from the Wolves game. I think that's the obvious place to start. We haven't really spoken about it at all, really. This is like the second or third day since the game. But we're going to get some comments. Some of you guys are in the building. So before we do go on to that, CVG is a Premier League winner. We are going to touch on that as well briefly. Big up, Ali, mate. You're always in here. Nice to see you. Mohammed says, just want to say, Mahmood said we can get top four last live. Listen, Mahmood might still believe that. If his opinion has changed, we'll find out. But good to see you paying attention, Mohammed. That's the most important thing. And Eunice says it's simple. We just got to take it. Support our manager. He's our greatest asset. I couldn't agree more. But let's get into it, mate. You know what? I'm gonna come to you, Ram, first because, I've not spoken to you for a while, mate. Let's just go to the start of the game, mate. I mean, everything that happened that was bad pretty much happened in the first 12 minutes anyway. So I guess that's where we have to start, the opening 12 minutes, from the off, mate. How was that game for you, watching that unfold before your very eyes?
That was embarrassing, man. It was literally embarrassing. After the first 15 minutes, I shut the game off. Like it was that bad. Um, I seriously question some of our players' motivation at this point. Um, some of the defending was piss poor. Even worse, it was worse than that. Um, I said this last time, and I'll say it again. The only player I feel sorry for is Alison Becker because he has to put up with the people that's right in front of him,
Joe
having to
Gomez
pick,
taking the ball out of his hands.
yeah, having to pick the ball out of the neck 3 times, and he tries his best to save our football club and almost carry our team and sort of drags us to draws or wins. That's not on a goalkeeper. Like the last, I saw a clip of the last, like when I think it was like a counter attack from Wolves, and the guy's just running through midfield, like he's standing saying, "I'm going to take it on myself because no one else wants to do it." That says it. That says it all, man. That says it all. There has to be conversations. Like I want to. There's one particular person I want to talk about because he is earning the most out of our club, earns a significant amount compared to the rest of your team, and people want to say he's arguably the greatest Premier League Liverpool player of all time. Well, mainly rival fans want to say that. We'll have conversations about that because certain players in the past for Liverpool Football Club never did what he did, in my opinion.
Listen, mate, the title of the stream is tough conversations, and you're right. We're gonna have to have some of those today. And Mahmood, just touching on those first 12 minutes, mate. I mean, like Ram rightfully says, it was embarrassing. This is a Wolves team who I believe they were the worst attacking side in the league before this game. I think they still might be, even with those 3 goals. And they've put 3 goals past us inside 12 minutes. it's, you know, 6s and 7s at the back. Joe Matip is absolutely disgraceful what he did for that first goal. Then, like I said, to Ram, Joe Gomez taking the ball out of Alisson when he's clearly come for the ball. So what went wrong, mate? Like, why are we starting games like this? Because I know James Pearce wanted to ask a question about it. Klopp seemed to shut him down and didn't want to talk to him, but he was right in a sense, wasn't he?
Yeah, I was going to say it's the body language. It's the body language, the application. Again, the one thing that I agree with Klopp when he speaks about this in his press conferences is simply about how we approach these games and how we start off games. Like this was an issue that I started from the beginning, somewhere between the end of the midpoint of last season, where we started off games so badly. But the difference is this season, the reaction is so poor. The reaction is so poor this season, and that's simply because of a confidence issue. The body, like we see the first goal conceded. You see Trent shake his head, sigh. You see Matip sigh. Alisson was the only one who showed some sort of aggression. But on the James Pearce press conference thing, I wanted to add, I do feel quite sorry for him in the sense that he was asking a very fair question, and I know people were trying to discredit James and try to get onto him, but people have to remember Klopp's not saying Klopp's not refusing to speak to James because he's defending FSG or because of the reasons we don't like James Pearce. He's saying he doesn't want to answer Klopp's question simply because of the things because of the tough articles he's written about Klopp. So I don't want to jump on the James Pearce hate bandwagon or anything like that, but it was a very valid question, and the reply he gave was quite poor. Again, he's not. It's like he wants to take all the responsibility himself, say, "I have to fix it, I have to do this," but instead of actually pointing at the core issue, the crux of the issue. So it's a shame, in my opinion.
Yeah, look, there's some beef there between Klopp and Pearce, and it stems back a long time. I think last season James Pearce wrote a piece about Klopp demanding red cards at Old Trafford, which apparently didn't happen ever. So obviously there's some sort of grudge there, and I know James Pearce he's got a mixed reception in the Liverpool fan base. But look, his question and his job in that press conference was to ask him a question. He asked him, like you say, very valid question, 100%. And yeah, Klopp just hit out on him. But yeah, going back to the game, I mean, my opinion on it in 12 minutes is, you know, I'm at this stage now where when Liverpool concede that early on, I just think, did anyone expect anything else? Like, we've been doing this for so long now. And you know what the most frustrating thing is, boys? It's like teams aren't even doing anything to get a goal. Like, we're not making it hard for them. They literally have to run down the wing or walk through our midfield, and we will make a mistake. Like Joel Matip again for that first goal. And I have to call out Joel Matip so much now, right? Because Virgil van Dijk has not been anywhere near, in my opinion, as bad as Joel Matip this season. Yet he's the one catching strays. He's the one that everyone's going at because of, I get it, how big he is in the game and how, you know, good he's been over the last 5 years. I get it. Virgil's the one that's inevitably going to get the stick. But Joel Matip, you know, as good as he's been for us over the last 4 or 5 seasons as well, at the minute, he's absolutely shocking. And Gomez as well, you know, he signed a new deal recently. I personally thought we should have sold him when his stock was high. I think we could have got a decent amount of money for him. Absolutely no chance now. No one's going to want to buy him. You'd probably be better off using him as a backup right back than playing him centre back right now. And if Virgil's not fit for Monday night, then I'm genuinely worried against Everton at home. And obviously they've got Sean Dyche in now. I mean, I said it, and this is going off topic a bit, this talk about Everton. The Everton-Arsenal game, I said to my brother, like, these set pieces are a problem. 10 minutes later, they score from a set piece. Imagine that against us. You know, these centre-backs, they don't know where they need to be at what time. It's just basics. It's honestly football basics that they're struggling to do. Stuff you taught as a kid. You know, I've watched that goal, that first goal, so many times, and I still can't come up with an explanation as to what Joel Matip has decided to do. Likewise for Gomez. Alisson, the best goalkeeper in the world, the best goalkeeper we've had in our lifetime. He's come out for the ball. Leave it to him. You know, you don't need to make yourself a hero. Just leave it to the keeper. Let him do his job. And he's obviously put it back out, and then they've scored, and it's just a mess. And you know what? I'm not going to give them any credit. They don't deserve any credit. But the response to that was actually semi-decent. I thought second half, it looked like we were definitely going to get back in the game. We created a few chances. I remember that one from Trent over the top to Nunes. I think in the first half, Nunes should have squared it to Salah. A tap in for Salah, the game changes. Trent, I didn't think was too bad, to be fair. I think he created a few chances, but yeah, just absolutely shocking all around. And it's that point now, isn't it, Ram, where if we even go 1 goal down, we're not going to win. But 2 goals down, it's impossible. And these guys are supposed to be mentality monsters.
100%, 100%. There has to be at some point we need to have a discussion about not only the midfield, the defense, the forwards. Like it's very easy for us to go at the midfield, but there's not a lot of heat going to the forwards or even to the defenders. I think certain players in centre back has been criticised, and rightly so. Joe Gomez, for example. But I think no matter how much I love the guy, Robbo hasn't been the same either. Like Robbo's yesterday against Wolves was very poor. He was very poor, and he's not playing at the level that he's expected to play. And granted, I think the reason behind that is because he's been run into the ground, which comes back to Jurgen Klopp. Why don't you rotate him as much? Not only does he play for Liverpool, he plays for Scotland, and he has to carry the weight of a country on his shoulders because he's also captain. Like stuff like that, you can understand, but people don't really want to talk about it. I don't know why they don't want to talk about it, but it is what it is. Like for me, it's easy to go at the midfield saying like, oh, it's not good enough, it gets overrun, but individual errors at the back cost us, and that's that's not what you associate with Liverpool over the past 6 seasons. Granted, maybe the time when we got all our centre backs injured, maybe, but before that, last season, definitely not. We were saying that Joel Matip and Van Dijk were the best centre backs in the Premier League last season, and then 2019-20, 2018-19. Like, come on, we have to wake up and smell the coffee. It's not only the midfield, it's also the forwards and it's also the defense as well.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I don't think enough's been said about the other 2 areas. And Mohamud, just on the back of that, Rams made a very good point. It's every area. So is it the system that's failing, or is it the personnel, or is it both?
I don't think I can really blame the actual core principles of Klopp or the way Klopp wants to approach games, because I've seen moments and periods in games since the beginning of the season where it looks like once the application is there, once the intensity is there, that the system works perfectly. I remember the Ajax game where you at home. That was a fantastic game, like one of our best games this season. You look at some of the games this season where we played the Diamond against Rangers, against Tottenham, against Spurs. You look at the way they played against City. That it's the same Spurs. Spurs were in fact in a better moment when we beat them 2-1 early in the season. We defended hard. The midfield was hard, and we were decisive. We were very decisive offensively. But to talk about whether it's a system or personnel, I have to say, like, I have to say a quite easy answer. Say it's a mix of both, in my opinion, because you look at the game yesterday, for example, us making Matip scoring on goals, or us making individual errors or little lapses of concentrations are things that happen. It happened last season when we went on a fantastic run. It can happen to us. But it's more about the reaction and the way we respond to it. We can see the first and the second goal yesterday, and yes, you're right. We had the end of the first half where we were good, but it's the body language and and us not being decisive in key moments. Like, for example, if Nunes scores to Salah, we score. You're right. It could be a different game, but we're not decisive anymore. It's a compound of both, in my opinion. Or you look at the Brentford game early in the season where we lost 3-1.
Yep.
If Nunes scores that one-on-one chance he had before we conceded the goal, the game could be very different again. The reality is that we're not decisive anymore, and the game goes beyond us. We lose control of the game, and that's when we completely collapse. So I honestly think it's a mix, it's a compound of it's so many different issues that have just compounded in this big mess we have. Yes, there's systemic failures, 100%. You look at the way Salah's playing right now; he's nowhere near performing the way he used to perform, simply because the reality is that I don't think the system is accommodating him anymore. He's having less touches in the box. He's having less touches in the box, less shots on target. He's not nowhere near involved in central areas as he used to be. People talk about Salah being wide being the only reason. Salah was wide last season as well. His touch map was arcing wides the last 2 years also. So I don't want to say it's simply because Salah's playing wide. It's because of the other attackers near him. It's the other two attackers near him. The dynamic, the chemistry of the other two attackers don't suit the way Salah plays. You look at Nunes, who never drops deep, who always wants to win headers and run forward rather than running backwards as Firmino or maybe Jota used to do. So
Yeah.
it's so many. It's a personal issue, 100%, but it's also application intensity, like I mentioned, like I touched on earlier.
I agree, and I feel like we've just done the same thing for too long, and we've kind of been found out. And I even think this goes back to last season. I think last season we were guilty of this as well. Teams finding a way to defend against us, but the problem with last season is there were games where we had individual brilliance. There were moments of madness. There were moments where Salah would just get a goal, or when Diaz came in, he'd do something special, or Mane or Jota, and a lot of the games we were winning by 1 goal or scraping a 2-goal lead, and it seemed to kind of paper over the cracks. But when we haven't got that individual brilliance and Mo Salah isn't doing his job, and obviously Diaz and Diogo are absolutely insane losses. I can't stress enough how big of a losses those two guys are. I said it at the time. As soon as I knew Diogo wasn't coming back anytime soon, I said we're in trouble, because now we're relying on Nunes. Diaz was already gone because I think Diogo came back in and got injured again. And then when we signed Gakpo, we were all of a sudden relying on 2 players who still, let's be honest, Nunes hasn't. He's not adapted at that point when we signed Gakpo fully. So we're relying on 2 players, 2 new players to carry us really, and then Harvey Elliott on the left wing, and it was just a mess. So I knew as soon as those 2 attackers went that we'd be in trouble. And I think it's just that teams have found a way to defend against us. You sit back, you stay compact. We're not breaking you down. You get the ball, you walk through our midfield, you've got a chance. It's as simple as that. And it's exactly what Everton are going to do. I am petrified of Onana on Monday night because he's unreal. I hate to say it because he's an Everton player.
I was gonna say I touched on this last time. Like, we have 2 brand new players, brand new to this club, brand new to the way we play, brand new to the way the club system, and they're being thrown in each game to start the game. Nunes and Gakpo. I think, and also what I think people, because of how bad it is, also forget that before the World Cup, it was never this bad. Like, yes, we had pressing issues. Yes, we had a few issues. We didn't start off in fantastic form, but it was never this bad in the sense that we would be poor from start to finish. It was like if you look at some of the games, I think after the Arsenal game where we lost 3-2, we won a decent stretch of games where we were playing at a good level, and the attack was fine and the midfield was fine. Klopp was tweaking with the diamond and the 4-4-2.
Mm-hmm.
But because we've lost more plays and we're having to, first of all, you look at the what's the common phrase of football? The first line of defense is the attackers, and all. You have Gakpo, Nunes, and Salah. Gakpo and Nunes, 2 new players who don't know how to play in the system, leading the way we press, leading the way we attack. It should be clear that this is going to be a mess, and it has been a mess so far. So. Like, nobody should be surprised that 2 new attackers who don't get the chemistry, who haven't combined with each other, who haven't created patterns, are obviously not going to perform. So I hope Diaz and Jota can, as soon as they come back, can be integrated as soon as possible. Because I honestly think Jota is the only chance of being remembered. Not saying that Jota is going to score the winning goal, but just having a different solution, having a different dynamic.
100%.
When Nunes, let's say Jota starts the game and Nunes and Jota does what he can, Nunes comes off the bench, or Nunes starts the game and it's not working out, Jota comes off the bench. Like, we need different solutions. But we'll see what happens.
For me, if Diogo's fit for that game, it's straightforward for me. Darwin on the left, Diogo up front, Salah on the right. But that's for a different topic. Ram, coming back to you, mate. We're going to have to talk about this, man. We've already alluded to him a little bit, but obviously the fan base on social media is a meltdown. I'm seeing Klopp out flying around. I'm pretty sure we'll all be in the same boat, but we have to talk about this. Where you at with the manager, mate? What are you feeling? Are you Klopp out? Will you ever be Klopp out, or what are you saying, mate? Talk to me.
Will I ever be Klopp out? Yes, there will be a time where if things don't go any better, then we have to have serious conversations about the man. No matter how much love I have for the guy, he's not Liverpool Football Club. And I've had these conversations with Jerry, with G. There is life after Jurgen Klopp, and I've already thought about it. So I am at a point where I don't see Jurgen Klopp as the guy that will just carry Liverpool until he leaves. I've already seen I've already seen what could happen out after Jurgen Klopp leaves. So for me, there will be a time if things don't go well that I will question the manager's job security. At this moment, no, I don't think so. I think his I don't like using this, but the credit in the bank. I think given the fact that we are getting new owners, even though I don't know what's going on with that, we're getting investment. I think he deserves that little bit of investment. See what he can do with the money he has. Unlimited money and the money that he needs as well. People will say, "Oh, we've seen what he's done with money. He puts it on forwards." Well, what was it? What if the case of we have owners where we don't need to spend it on just one player? We can spend it on 3 or 4 players that is necessary. What about that? And I think he deserves it in a sense that he has at times been held at ransom by the owners and have been let down by the owners. So I think he does deserve that, but that doesn't mean he's abstained from criticism. Jurgen Klopp, tactically and in game, has been the worst manager in the league, arguably this season. He has. In game, he has cost us games. He has cost us going from draws to losses. He has cost us from going from wins to draws. He has done that numerous times this season, and he deserves a lot of criticism that he's getting. And this constant arrogance to play the way that he wants to play, even though the team is not built and not set up right, and the physicality is not there anymore, is an absolute disregard for the benefits of the football club. And he deserves a lot of criticism for that. The guy needs to fix up ASAP. Otherwise, more people will turn on him and more people will demand him out, and there'll be more pressure on him. And at some point, the pressure will crack, and he will crack under pressure. At some point, he will. That's how it goes.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just laughing at a comment. Someone said, my mate Kev says, Ram's a time traveler. How could he have seen that?
There's life after Jurgen Klopp, man. There's life after Jurgen Klopp. I can see the future, man.
I'll quickly add on what Rams is saying.
Wait, can I just quickly, just to end? The guy manages Bayer Leverkusen and he's Spanish. That's the future.
Oh, hello, NSO. Not yet though.
2030, I say 2030.
I've got a different guy also, but we can speak.
Let's not. No. Don't want to talk about. We're talking about Jurgen Klopp. We're not talking about anyone else.
Anyway.
Go on, man.
Strictly on the Jurgen Klopp point. I was gonna say Rams is absolutely right in terms of Klopp being quite stubborn and arrogant in the way he wants to play, and the reason why Klopp is gonna get is deserves his criticism is also because at the end of the day he has to find solutions. Yes, okay, cool. We can talk about the overarching issues: not enough investment, not enough midfielders, etc. But at the end of the day, with the transfer window shut now, he has to find solutions. Yep. He has to accept. This is the squad that I'm with right now. Whatever happens in summer is going to happen. If I'm going to sign more players, if Bellingham was going to come, if I'm going to get a team, etc., what can I do to ensure that Liverpool can perform and get the best possible result at the end of the season? When he approaches Real Madrid game, is he gonna continue to try play the way he wants, try play the way he played in the final, knowing that he doesn't have the same players anymore? Is he gonna try play that same way? He has to adapt, and that's one of the few things that Klopp historically has never proven. We looked at remember 2 seasons ago in that COVID no fans era where for 7-8 games in a row we lost 6 home games in a row. We were in a bad 2-month stretch, and he played the exact same way. And eventually we got into that 10-game winning stretch, but we were saved by 10 games out of a 38-game season where we secured top 4. And at the end of the day, whether we like it or not, it's the other teams falling off, like Chelsea bottling it at the last end of the season, etc. And Arsenal and Arsenal Spurs also. So it was in the sense that Klopp's brilliant saved us in the last 10 games. We went on a nice 10-game unbeaten, which got us top 4. But the rest of the season was crap up until from Christmas to March. It was crap, and that January to March period was the period Pep Guardiola won the league when he went on that 20-game winning run. And also, if you look at some of the rhetoric that differs between managers like Pep and managers like Fergie and managers Klopp, these two managers, Pep and Fergie, they always talk about changing and shaking things up. You remember the press conference Pep had, that fear, not the one yesterday, but the first one he had after he beat Spurs 4-2. He was talking about, I don't recognize my team anymore, etc. One of the key things I took from that, he focused on this one about shaking things up. about things having to change, about either he has to change or the players have to change. And I think we're reaching this dilemma now also with Liverpool in the sense that either we need to get 11 new players or 7 to 8 new players, or the manager needs to change. Things have to change eventually. Whether in football, natural things come to a natural end. The changes of guards have to happen. We're not immune to that. For 7 years, we've enjoyed the brilliance of Klopp, and now things have to change, whether that be the players or whether that be the manager. And so we'll see which one goes first. But I do think Rams is right in the sense that I think Klopp has way too much credit in the bank. I don't think the fans in the stadium will ever turn on him. I remember I said it before. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Manchester United fans. I don't even remember a few views, even, and that got seriously bad. And he has nowhere near as much credit as Klopp does. So I don't think Klopp will ever be in a situation where he ever feels pressure to leave, the fans ever boo him, or he ever feels some sort of like thing he has to come from here. He has to come from him. And that's why I pay attention to so much of these press conferences of Klopp. I want to see that rhetoric from him. I want to see him see where he's going with this. And right now, I think we're all disappointed in his press conferences where when these journalists like James Pierce do ask very good questions sometimes. I know we complain about journalists, but they're talking about themes and the pressing issues, etc. And he always deflects. He deflects in a way where he likes to take all the responsibility and say, I'm going to defend you. I'm going to defend my players. I'm going to take all the responsibility. But he doesn't really touch on it. It's the same Klopp that a few weeks ago in the January transfer window, when we were speaking about midfielders, he said that I have 7 midfielders. Why would I need another one? So when he speaks like this, of course, the way social media, he's gonna have to take the heat at the end of the day. But yeah, at the end of the day, I can't see a situation where if we're going to talk about Klopp, and we're going to actually talk about whether any potential against. I don't think we'll ever reach that situation. Not this season anyway. That'll never happen.
No, definitely not. And
I know situation where the fans where there's any toxicity around the club into the stadium. No. I don't think that happened either. But we'll see which one goes first, because something has to shake eventually.
Yeah, 100%. And you're asking which one goes first, and I'm just going to be real, guys. I would sell every single player in that team before I lose Jurgen Klopp, and that's just my opinion. That's how I feel.
I was going to say quickly that the Dortmund director, like a year back, spoke about the time when he was sporting director at Dortmund when Klopp was manager, and he said it himself. He says that when I look back on it, he thinks it was a mistake not changing the players before changing the manager. Klopp eventually left because he had a very deteriorated squad where all his best players were sold to Bayern, not enough investment in the squad. He was left with players that he doesn't.
Sorry, Mo, just to add, it wasn't only that. It was the fact that the director, I think it was, what's his name? The CEO or someone like that, Watzke.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name. He authorized signings like Immobile, where Klopp said, I don't want Immobile. I wanted other people.
Exactly.
But you're signing players that you want to sign, and that's on you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That. Sorry, that goes with my point. That go on, you finish.
No, I was going to say he said exactly that. No, he said exactly that he regrets not changing the players first before he changes the manager. And so I don't want to be in a few years back where we're in the gut and say, oh, why did we change the manager? I don't want to be too harsh on Klopp just yet. But
yeah,
like I said, the fundamental point is that something has to shake. That's the main point. Whether be the
let me just say my piece on.
Go
on. No, it's just pretty much what Mo just said. Really, I will always. So, like, I'll stand by it. I'll get rid of all these players before I lose Jurgen Klopp. And people might say that's sentimental or whatever. Maybe it is, but for me, there's nobody out there that I would be prepared to come into this job right now. Maybe in 2 years' time, maybe 3 years' time. But right now, no. Not with this set of players, not with these owners. And that is the important thing I think people need to remember. If you're prepared to lose Jurgen Klopp, you need to bring somebody in that is capable of getting a tune out of this squad and working with these owners, which is, again, two very, very hard things to do. And Jurgen Klopp, for me, has done far more than what, I expected him to do, to be honest. When he came in, there was no way I thought he was going to win every single trophy. That's he's changed expectations. I thought, okay, maybe we'll, maybe win a league or maybe win a Champions League. We'll at least be competitive again. I never once thought we'd be sat here saying we've won every single trophy in the space of 6 years. Never thought that. So for me, yes, he's done everything. And our expectations have changed because of how good he's made us, because of how good of a team he built. But like Mo said, when the time comes for change, you have to make the changes. Signing Henderson on the deal, the same wage as Alisson Becker, a scandalous decision. Keeping on players like Joe Gomez when you can cash in. A bang average player, we could have got another backup. We could have just gone in the market and signed another backup for 15 mil.
I was going to say, just quickly,
Can
it's
we
just,
just-
go on, go on,
go on,
then, bro.
man.
I was going
I was
to
gonna say, go on, man.
okay,
Go.
mine's quite quick. I was going to say quickly on your point. You guys remember a year back that one of the famous quotes from Klopp. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain offers me a dynamic that I can't replace in the market. Klopp said that, by the way. So again, the rhetoric comes from Klopp. He defends these plays of all his life. He talks about I don't need plays. The solutions are within my squad, etc. So that's why I don't know if the fans in the stadium or the fans, etc., they might not ever see it, but he has to take all this heat because he talks about the squad being made for him. He talks about how he has the best fit defenders as well. He has to take the heat at the end of the day. That's why so much criticism is going to eventually be aimed towards Klopp.
Do you know what doesn't help as well with what you said? Because at some point in some press conferences, he also says stuff like, well, if I want to get rid of a player, I need to find the replacement first before I can get rid of them. Like stuff like that is like, well, why can't you find the specific player that you need? Like if you want to spend money and we want to refresh things, then why don't you demand it? Like, you're the manager. You've got.
I can tell you one midfielder, mate, and he's at Wolves, and he's absolutely destroying us every time he plays against us.
No, Ben. The worst one was this transfer. The worst one, and it made my blood boil. Marcel Sabitzer, who I wanted.
I said this today, by the way, in a group chat. We should have gone in for him.
In 2021, I wanted us to sign him from Leipzig as a dynamic midfielder that could offer us something different that we haven't had since probably Oxlade-Chamberlain before the injuries. And the comments were coming in from the journalists saying Liverpool are looking at options from the big clubs to see if there's any players surplus to requirements so we can bring them in on a loan. What the hell were we doing when Manchester United rocked up to Bayern Munich and asked for Marcel Sabitzer, a guy that is clearly capable of playing a Klopp system and is clearly capable of being a starter within our team? What is this club doing? What were they doing for the past
Chelsea and Zakaria as well?
January? And Ben, I said this before in your stream. We went to Juventus to go in for a midfielder and came back with the wrong midfielder. We
took a cartoon character, man.
Literally, we went to Juventus to get a midfielder. The perfect midfielder was right out of Juventus, and we didn't get him. We got the wrong one. How can we?
Even Rabiot would have been a better shot.
Even he would have made more sense than Altamelo. But it's the club. The club.
It's just poor planning yet again, isn't it, Mo?
Exactly, and it's such a shame because one of the things we used to get so much praise for was about how Liverpool are run so perfectly. Liverpool had the best transfer. Liverpool, the excellent Michael Edwards is doing, and Julian Ward. And now one of the topics we probably should touch on is how behind the scenes everyone is leaving. You have you have Julian. Imagine our sporting director, the guy who's meant to replace Michael Edwards. Michael Edwards there for about 7-8 years, way before 9 years, I think, because he became way before Klopp came. For so long, and the guy that was meant to replace him is leaving in the first season of the job. Then you have some other guys in key roles leaving also. So clearly there's something happening at the behind the clubs, and maybe it explains why recently our transfers doesn't really make sense in the sense that perhaps we don't know the plan or system Klopp's trying to create whatever, but it doesn't seem right in the moment. I mean, so much of our signings in the past, it made sense in since we can look back on it, like Naby Keita made sense, or Chamberlain made sense, or I'm trying to think of some others. Konate made sense. When we tried to sign Tuchemeni, it made sense, or Thiago made sense. Some of the players which we were signing in the past made sense, and now it doesn't really make sense. Gakpo, he's a welcome addition to the squad, but in the moment when we were linked to him, I didn't really see why at this moment it would make sense to sign him. I know perhaps maybe in the summer he might have left us and he was a key target, but
just to jump in there, I saw a debate on Twitter, and it's in fact it was in Born and Red stream yesterday as well. Would Oxlade-Chamberlain on the wing for 3 or 4 games have been any worse off than Cody Gakpo? And this ain't. I know Gakpo's played as a centre forward most games, so it's kind of not fair. But the point is valid, and I thought that was a really good point. And this is no way me, you, or Ram slagging off Gakpo, saying that he's not going to be good, because I think he will come good once Liverpool are firing on all cylinders once again. But at this moment in time, when the club's in absolute disarray and you kind of need players that know the players, know the club, would it not have been better to just use Ox in an attacking position? In hindsight, of course, because, you know, Gakpo's not done it yet. But would that have been a better shout and then going to get a centre mid? But we know the problem, don't we? They're going all out for a certain midfielder in the summer.
But and it's not even guaranteed we're going to get him. It's
and
not
also,
even and even then, sorry, man. This is something that really gets onto me. The kind of midfielder that we need, Jude Bellingham fulfills certain qualities, not every single one quality. We all know the type of midfielder we need is Steven Gerrard. Steven Gerrard is the midfielder that we need. Bellingham is not like Steven Gerrard. Bellingham cannot create from deep like Steven Gerrard can. Bellingham does not have the technical quality as Steven Gerrard can. Yes, he's a better dribbler of the ball and better at progressing with the ball, arguably, than Steven Gerrard. But he does not possess the technical quality.
You can't find many Steven Gerrards out there, though, to be fair, mate.
We can't. That's the thing. But putting all our hopes into Jude Bellingham, a 20-year-old who hasn't got past the Champions League quarterfinals, and never played a Champions League quarterfinal in his career.
Oh, Ram, I feel you've been a bit harsh.
No, I know. Ben, I love Jude Bellingham, but Jude Bellingham is not the entire answer to this team.
Do you think he's generational?
I think he can be generational, but I don't think he can carry this whole midfield by himself.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that.
Like I would happily like Ben. You know me. My dream midfield would be Tonali and Bellingham. That guarantees success for a decade for me. But Bellingham on his own, no way. I'm sorry. Too much pressure on a young kid. He's not Steven Gerrard. He's not Steven Gerrard at all. And that's what we need. Bellingham is a quality player. But Steven Gerrard, I'm sorry, that's the player that we need. But there's no Steven Gerrards out there. But apparently he will be, according to Klopp and the club.
And one of the things about the longer we let these issues in our team run, and if we keep letting this issue and some of the systemic issues keep running, when Jude Bellingham comes in, he's not gonna make the impact everyone thinks he's gonna make, as Rams was saying. Like if we sign Tuchemeni in the summer and then in January we sign another midfielder and then we sign Bellingham, it would make so much sense, because then we're slowly rebuilding midfield. But because we're rebuilding every area but the midfield, if we go and splash 120 million on one midfielder, we're left with the rest of the midfielders we have. He's not gonna solve a single thing, because I don't know when a club midfielder has ever succeeded or based off an individual. I don't think ever in the last few years we can ever say that this midfielder, maybe Fabinho, but even then Fabinho is quite more nuanced than it seems. We've never seen in the last few years that a single midfielder has been vital to the way Klopp's midfield operates. It's always been about the right mix, the right personnel performing the way Klopp wants to piece midfield with the way they press. Like we've seen the last two, we've seen in the 18, 19 and 19, 20, arguably our best ever 2 years on the club, those 2 seasons. Fabinho didn't play in every single big game. He wasn't crucial in every single game. The same way when Henderson played it, or the same way when Alden played it, he wasn't crucial in every single game either. I remember there was a stat about when Genie played DM, we won every single game or something like that. Or when Henderson plays DM, we also play very well also. So it's never been a situation about a single individual is not going to make this midfield play better. It has to be a rebuild of the midfield. Yeah. And so if we would have signed Tuchemeni last summer, and then in January we find another midfield, and then in the summer we splash the cash on Bellingham, that makes so much more sense. But if we end up spending 100 million and we don't have new owners, I can't see a reality where we sign Bellingham and then another 2 midfielders, because the reality is we need 3 new midfielders, because Henderson, we have 7 senior midfielders. Henderson, perhaps I'm not going to be too harsh to other people. Henderson may still have a role in this club. He may be a Milner where he doesn't play that many games, but he might be certain in Henderson could easily be a player, in my opinion, where he comes on 70 to finish off games. He could easily be durable.
10 games, probably 10 competitive games or 15 competitive games.
And I genuinely, Henderson definitely still has a role in this Liverpool team. I don't deny that for 1 second. Naby Keita may leave for the summer. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain may leave in the summer. Fabinho's clearly fallen off a cliff. Also, Thiago's approaching the 32. Thiago came with the finish of his career, and he's starting a project. which I feel so sorry for him. But and you have the other midfielders. So
what we've done to just interject there, what we've done to Thiago Alcantara is absolutely shambolic. Honestly, I feel
the Premier League, and
we've
2 years, yes.
So they're in
we've
first
got
place.
such a good midfielder, world class, one of the best in the world. I don't care what anyone tells me. I know he's not been at it the last month or so. I'm not going to deny that, and he needs to be held accountable for that as well, just as everyone else does. But on the other hand, I can't blame him because he's been put out there with Dumb and Dumber. Fabinho, when he plays, absolutely shocking. He's almost been a one-man midfielder. I know Stefan's come in recently and he's been absolutely sensational. Probably our only positive, really, of the last few weeks. But with Thiago Alcantara, when you've got somebody that good, you build around them. You bring in a Jude Bellingham last summer. You bring in a Tchouaméni last summer. And, you know, I said it, that this is the reason why we aren't signing anyone, because even on loan, you're paying fees. And to get a top player on loan until the end of the season now, you're probably still paying 10, 15 mil for them. We're not going to do that because the club is putting absolutely everything into Jude Bellingham. And I completely agree with what you said, Mo. Even if we do get Jude Bellingham, I'm going to be happy because I love the kid. I think he's incredible. I do think he's generational. I think he's potential captain material. I think he does take us to that next level. But I also agree on the other thing you guys said, not on his own. If we spend absolutely every single penny we have in the bank on Jude Bellingham, the problems are still going to be there because you need a Moises Caicedo. You need somebody else, because if we're putting absolutely everything into one midfielder, when we're sat here knowing we need, 3 centre mids at least 1 centre back minimum, that's 4 already. That's a 250 million rebuild on its own. And I don't trust these owners, and I do want to get into these owners, and I don't trust these owners to get that rebuild done, not in one window.
I was gonna say quickly, my only hope is that if we were to step back and look this in a perspective from a sporting director, I think, okay, we've targeted certain areas in the squad. We've signed a centre back in Kanate. Gomez is still young with me, like, you know. Van Dijk's at age where he can go for a few years. So perhaps the centre back issue is not a priority anymore. Then you look at our offense. You look at Nunes. He's still quite young. You look at you look at Diaz, you look at Jota, you look at Salah. These are all very, very young players, still operating a high level and a defense. So that's not priority more. So hopefully, if I'm looking for a sporting director position, their next step will be the midfield. And so hopefully, if you were to get players off the books, like you say, Naby Keita may leave, Chamberlain may leave, a few other players may leave also, we get his wages off the books. Perhaps that'll open up an opportunity to then rebuild the midfield, because I think you will sign 2 or 3 players, but hopefully because they've targeted other areas in the squad, that then we will then move on to the midfield. But let's see. Yeah,
I think also the fact that I think we can get away with buying only 2 midfielders and probably a centre back as well, like a decent level centre back, in my opinion.
but even then,
with it, but it just doesn't guarantee success. It doesn't guarantee us challenging for trophies. It's just a fact of we could probably get away with it and get top 4, but other than that, I don't see us doing much. Like, you know, maybe someone like Bellingham and Thuram together, maybe that's equivalent like 130, 140 million, 150 probably. Then probably spend 50 million on a centre back, maybe that's 200 M's, and maybe probably get rid of, I don't know. I'm gonna big up Matt from Coppish, because he said this before. He thought Joel Matip will be sold after 2021, and his first choice was Sven Botman, and we were like, it could be a shout. It could be a shout.
We were linked with him.
What's happening? We were linked with him, and look what happened. Sven Botman is now tearing it up with Newcastle United.
People forget that January 2021 period was an absolute shambles. I mean, I don't know, and that was Michael Edwards' era also. I mean, to sign 2 centre backs on deadline day, and none of them for both of them to still not be at the club. To sign 2 players on deadline day, and one of them was permanent, one of them was on loan option to buy, and both to be catastrophic failures.
But Mo, this is exactly what we're seeing now with Bellingham. They're not jumping into action because they've got something down the line. They didn't do it then because Kanate was coming in the summer. Do you know what I mean?
True. Kanate,
and that's wrong, by the way.
Kanate.
No, you're right. You're right.
Kanate was available to be signed in Jan.
Was he injured?
They didn't want to pay the money. It was 50 million they asked for. In the summer, it would have been 35, but because it's January, it was 50 million. And then they were like, okay, we can't pay that money, so we'll pay the money 35 mil for the summer that's coming up.
One of the biggest criticisms about the way we operate is that we often look ahead in the future. The way the owners operate, the way the sporting director team operates is that they tend to take a position where they look to plan for the future, and rightly so. I mean, that's their job. Of course, they're going to do that. But
Yeah.
people often forget that we should no longer be in a project phase anymore. We have arrived in a situation where we should be able to have the squad where we compete every summer. I mean, if Pep Guardiola tried to claim that he's in a project phase, he'd get laughed at because he spent so much money. So why is that any same? We don't have the squad, or we haven't spent the billions that Pep's done. We spent a good amount of money, and they built a good repertoire of players and a decent 11 to say that we should be arriving each summer, each season, and say competing for the Prem, and we have been doing that. I mean, 18-19 we competed for the Prem and Champions League. 19-20 we did that. 2021 we can say okay, injuries collapses.
We did
the season after
until the injuries came in. We were top of the league.
Yeah, you're right. We were top. Yeah, you're right. Exactly. And then you look at the season after, we did the same again. And then you look at this season also. This season, the issues are clear. Players declining and not enough investment. So the point is that these owners and these owners and these players are forgetting that yes they can plan for the future and say okay, we're gonna sign Bellingham next summer, or we're gonna sign these players in the future, but they're sacrificing the here and now for the later. Nobody is guaranteed success 2-3 years time later, but we can be guaranteed success now if we act smartly now. That's the reality. I mean, look, if we sign Konate in the January transfer window for 50 million or whatever, and we send someone else, for example, who knows? Maybe perhaps there's a scenario where we could have been Real Madrid, perhaps, and in Champions League, where we in the not in the final, but in the quarterfinals.
Yeah,
I mean, you
the
look
training ground.
like exactly. Do you remember the first goal? The first goal was, the first goal was an auto ball from Cruz ball. Tony Cruz, and Nat Phillips a bit too slow. He wasn't quick enough, not mobile, and that's when Nat Phillips is. Perhaps the Kanate is there. We react quicker, or the system is much better. These owners and managers are forgetting that yes, they keep sacrificing the here and now, for the future, and nobody's guaranteed any success in the future. And also, the reason why they shouldn't be focused on the future is because we've already spent enough money. We brought a squad enough already to say that we should be competing every season for the Prem, and we have to refresh. We're not project. We can't be in the project mindset anymore.
No, exactly, mate. And I think with
of course,
of course.
Can I make a quick analogy, because this is perfect for this type of thing? You know, when you have to like clean up your room, yeah, and you keep on putting it off until the weekend, and then you got so much to clean off. If you just cleaned your room every single day, little by little, it would probably take maybe half an hour. But in this weekend, it'll probably take 1.5 hours for you to clean your entire room because of the mess that you leave. That is literally Liverpool Football Club in terms of transfers. If we've spent little by little every single summer, every single window, we wouldn't have to have a major rehaul in players. We wouldn't. We would if we say we spend about 50 million extra every every summer window on maybe one player or possibly even two players that are good enough to play for this squad, we wouldn't have to be spending circa 100-200 million just to refresh parts of our team. That's how Liverpool Football Club have run this club. That's how they run this club.
And the biggest shame is that a few years back ago, it looked like we were doing what you would say we were doing smartly. I mean, each summer we were kind of refreshing there and then. I mean, I think I've got it up near me somewhere, but it was looking at somehow about look, you look at 16-17, we signed Mane, and we signed Mane. Other few the season after we signed Salah and Chamberlain. Then we signed Van Dijk in the January. So the season after we signed, I think it's Keita.
Fabinho.
Why Mo?
Actually,
why?
I know, because the Coutinho. Yeah.
No, it's not even that. Even before 16-17, we sold a lot of players for big money.
Yeah.
Mamadou Sakho went for about 30 mil. Christian Benteke went for 32 mil.
The left back we sold to Bournemouth. What was his name? Was it Smith?
Jordan Ibe.
Jordan Ibe as well. Brad Smith. There we go. Danny Ward. What did we get for him? 15 million?
15 mil. Dominic Solanke went for 20 mil.
Ryan
What's
Brewster,
his name? There's a guy.
mil.
What was it? Kevin Stewart sold for 8 mil, which
Sam
then
Robertson
accumulated for Andrew Robertson. Right? That's how the club has been operating. And then people want to say our net spend is not real. For our club, the way it's run, sell to buy is how we run. So net spend for us in terms of transfers is real.
And that can't happen now when we're seeing all these, state-owned clubs like Newcastle. I mean, City are in a bit of bother now. We're not going to have time to discuss that today. But all these clubs that have the money, Newcastle coming in, United obviously have their money. Chelsea now spending 500. We can't. We are literally going to be 7th, 8th, 9th permanently if they continue this way. So the two choices are you either stay and you give the manager the assurances that you must have promised him when he signed the contract. Because why on earth would he sign that contract if he wasn't promised assurances? So you either stay and do that, or you sell up and go and leave the club to somebody that can. Because we are gonna get left behind by Newcastle. Do you know how mad that is? They're in the Championship 2 seasons ago, and now they're above us and they look way better than us. They've got more money. It's like football can change so fast. But lads, it's been an amazing discussion, and I just want to quickly touch on Everton before we finish up. What do you want to see, Mo? You go first, because again, we've spoken on the familiarity with this team and how opponents find it so easy to play against us. Do we stick with what we've been doing and hope that it comes good, or do you want to see something completely different from the manager?
I mean, Everton games. I mean, even at our peaks, they've been so difficult. But exactly, like it's never been easy. I mean, 18, 19, the 0-0 draw away from home. See, to be for 1920, we beat them. We were quite good against them. We beat them by hope like 5-2. But then after lockdown, we drew 0-0 again against the season after. We drew 2-2, then lost to them at Anfield. And this last season we were pretty impressed. Last season was absolutely amazing. But then again, they were going through a bit of bother now. Last season when we beat them, we played them at the right time. But this season, I mean, the back of the Arsenal win. I mean, I'm glad they beat Arsenal. So hopefully that means they're less motivated for this, if that's even possible. But I mean, what I hope is that these players get right up for it. They get right. They feel something the same way Everton when they played Arsenal. You could see that this meant more to them. I mean, even if they lost, I mean the intention and the desire was there from minute one. I hope we see that similar sort of desperation, if you can call that, from our players, where they feel like, can we really lose another game to our rivals, our all of them? I mean,
unforgivable if they lose that on Monday night. Unforgivable.
Exactly. And one of the things about Klopp, I don't know if you guys, but Klopp normally always plays down the nature of these derbies. I mean, so he likes to play down the derby a lot. Like he doesn't really take it. He doesn't really play our big Merseyside derby. He's not really that kind of manager as opposed to our previous managers. But so I hope I see. I mean, I want to see desperation. That's what I want to see. I want to see the intensity. I want to see the application there. I mean, I hope Klopp does make some tactical tweaks. I hope we don't play it. Because if we play against those three midfield, was it Onana, Idrissa Gana Gueye, and who's the other one? Idrissa Gana Gueye.
Corey, yeah.
That trio of midfield with their
power,
with the desire, that's P&P, power and pace,
physicality.
That's what we used to have, man.
An application. They're gonna be on us from minute one. They're gonna play hard. They're gonna play dirty also. I mean, so if our midfielders don't want it, if we cannot control the game, we will lose the game. That's the reality, or we will draw. That's 100%. If we cannot take this thing out of it, and we can't control the game, we're gonna lose or draw 1,000,000%. So it's just about can the players take this thing out of it? Can they control the game a bit more? Because we should technically, in terms of technical ability of players, we should be able to control the game 100%. Trent, Robertson, Gomez, Matip, Bajcetic, Thiago, Salah, Nunes, Gakpo, they should be able to technically control the game. They should be able to take this thing out of it. If we can keep the ball, we will win the game. But the reality is that if we give away too many turnovers, if we don't play hard, if we don't play intense, if we don't play with that intensity, then we'll lose or draw the game. That's my opinion. So 2 things. I hope we see tactical tweaks. I hope maybe a diamond, because I keep going back to the Spurs game where we beat Spurs 2-1. That was a fantastic game. I mean, we played very hard and we won, and we were defensively so good that game. So maybe a tactical game, maybe play a diamond like that, but maybe play a diamond, maybe Nunes, Salah, and Elliott in pockets, half spaces or whatever. And then, but then if he doesn't make any tacticals, if we apply ourselves, we can win the game also. But we'll have to see.
Ram?
I'm not looking forward to the game. One thing I want to see is Nat Phillips play at the back. Nat Phillips needs to play, especially.
Be cool, man.
It'll be especially with them set pieces. The guy needs to play.
In the air.
The guy can head a meteor away from Earth. That's how good he is in the air.
Who would you partner with him?
Oh, that's a tough
Toss
one.
of a coin, man. Toss of a coin. I really don't know.
I'd say Gomez.
Matip and Gomez are very
Both-
different, so it's quite important who you partner, who you play.
I'd say Gomez because then you've got some pace.
Oh, no, but the
Well, you know what? One of the things I love
Gomez-
about
the problem with Gomez is that he has that bozo gene inside of him.
Yeah, but imagine
and
Matip and Nat Phillips
has that
defending a
too.
counter attack.
Matip cheeky deflection or cheeky on goal. That's always on the cards with Matip.
Oh man, don't even.
I'll
I was at that
go
Man
with Matip.
City game last season, man. It's heart wrenching stuff.
Off game deflections. What a shame, man. But the reason why I'd go with Matip is because I do think Matip is better on the ball in my opinion, and I do think Matip offers us more progressively. I mean, I love the runs where he beats two lines of two phases.
don't do that no more.
He did it quite often against Wolves, though. I don't know if you guys. He did that quite. I think against Wolves he was quite desperate to do it, so it looked a bit rough. But I mean, he's better on the ball than Gomez. That's a given. So that's why I go with Matip.
In possession, there's nothing wrong with Joe Matip.
Oh, that's the thing. We have to control the game to win. So I'd go with Matip in my opinion.
Go on,
and I feel like Matip shows more expression. He's more aggressive. He's more like maybe he's not as perfect as Gomez, but he shows a bit more like a bit more aggression, a bit more intensity than Gomez does in my opinion. But yeah.
Go on, Ram.
That's pretty much it. That's all I want to say. Nat Phillips should be playing this game, and
what do you do with the attack?
I'm tired of seeing Gakpo up front, man. I really am.
But Diogo's in training this week, supposedly. I don't know if this game will come
rushing
too soon.
Diogo back. I am not doing
that. I think Jota might come off the bench because he had the full training. He had a full training last week and then rehab the day after. And this week is going to be in full training every day apparently.
I'm too scared to lose him again.
He probably should
for
off the bench.
Period. I'm really scared. Jota is crucial.
We have to ease him back. We have to ease him back eventually. So I want to see an Everton game because I can see a situation where a nasty challenge comes with one of these Everton players and he gets in. So
and you know how Everton are, man. Everton will go flying into challenges just to rile. They will try to rile us up. That's how they played for the last since probably all of us were born. That's how they played. Is that I don't like saying it. It's that loser mentality that they have.
The game at Anfield was just so hard to watch before he scored 2 goals. I mean, it was so tough. I mean, and you remember the season
what they were going to do.
The season before, remember that Thiago challenge and the whole event, they I don't know. Yeah, so I'd agree with you.
Even 13, I'll go back even further. 13-14 when Morales almost broke Luis Suarez's leg.
Yeah.
Like if you guys remember that, they have done this in the past. That's how they've been playing against us.
My thing with this team, is I've been thinking long and hard about it. I don't really care who starts, to be honest. I'm at that point now where I don't think any of them, apart from Alisson, Stefan, probably just those two, deserve their guaranteed spot in the team for the next game. Possibly Trent as well, just because we don't have anybody else. But all I will say is the 11 players that do play in this game, honestly, if they don't win it, they shouldn't play the next game. And that's the big statement to make, but they've had so many chances, and if you can't turn up for a Merseyside derby at Anfield, you're not going to turn up. And for me, this is really one last chance now for these players to prove that they have still got it in them to turn up for these big games and that they do want to see where the season can take us. Because let's be real, I think top 4, I know we spoke about him in the last pod. I don't know if your opinion's changed. It's probably gone now. But we need to find our dignity now. We need to find our passion again. And I'm not saying we're going to beat Real Madrid, but we need to get up to that Real Madrid game in the best shape possible on the back of some wins, because then at least we have a chance. So all of that, I believe, should start on Monday.
At least Real Madrid not playing well either in their
there's that. But I'm sure we said that last season as well. So
that's true.
Real Madrid just always find a way, man.
I don't know. UCL. Real Madrid.
Yeah, exactly. But listen, we'll see what happens on Monday night. But like I said, we have to win it. It's absolutely unforgivable if they do. Even if they draw it, that's no good. A win and nothing. But guys, we are going to leave it there. We've got through so much today in the space of an hour. So boys, absolutely smashed it. A joy as ever talking to you guys. Real genuine conversations. No agendas around here. Just pure fans having their opinions on topics that have to be discussed. And these podcasts are hard at the minute. I'm not going to lie. I feel like me, Mo, and Ram are always repeating the same stuff time after time after time. And we are just in the hope that in one of these games, they will give us something good to talk about. But hopefully that will be the next game, guys. Thank you for sticking around. If you made it to this spot in the podcast, smash a like button, subscribe. Make sure you also we're on Spotify and Apple. So if you listening as your preference or whatever, if you're in the car or you're out and about, stick us on there if you want, and give us a follow. So guys, take care, and we'll see you all in the next one.